Chapter 616. Su Mukyu. When Chen Guo saw the name on the grave, her mind was instantly filled with countless ideas and thoughts. She wanted to further confirm through the content given on the grave, but from her current position and distance from them, she couldn't see any other words. Chen Guo didn't want to distract them, so she didn't progress any closer. She only stretched and bent herself around to see if she could pick up any useful information that the two figures had blocked. In the midst of her efforts, Yishu suddenly turned his head and saw Chen Guo. Chen Guo knew that Yishu must have caught her peeking. She wanted to find a hole for herself, lie in there, straighten up a gravestone, and just die. She subconsciously pretended not to notice Yishu looking her way and continued to look around. After a while, she quickly scanned around again and saw Yishu, who was smiling, and still looking at her. When he saw her looking his way, he waved towards her, as if hinting for her to come over. Chen Guo was surprised and made a hand gesture confirming that she was allowed to walk forward. She only started to walk over after Yishu gave her a nod. Chen Guo was quite familiar with Nanshan Cemetery and knew about the different types of graves that were used here. The row Yishu was in belonged to one of the lower-grade gravestones in Nanshan Cemetery. The setup was simple and the space for visiting the grave was very small. If there were more family members or friends visiting, it wasn't possible for everyone to stand in front of the grave together. Chen Guo came to the front and found the small and simple grave tidied up very neatly. It must have been cleaned by the two just then. The birds of paradise were placed silently before the grave. Chen Guo could finally clearly read the words on the grave. The name and the time the grave was set up instantly gave Chen Guo some information. At this moment, Yishu stood aside and patted the gravestone lightly while saying, "Look at this, if he weren't lying here, he would have definitely become one of the gods in glory." "He's your brother." Chen Guo looked at Su Mucheng. The name on the gravestone pointed it out. "Yeah," Su Mucheng nodded. She took off her hat and sunglasses before the grave. Her emotions didn't seem to be too sorrowful. She seemed like she was reminiscing her past. Judging by the dates on the grave, he passed away at the mere age of 18, which had been almost 8 years ago. Car accident, Su Mucheng spoke. Oh, Chen Guo fell silent. She had also experienced the unexpected pain of loss before. He was the only family member I had, Su Mucheng said. Huh? Chen Guo was stunned while immediately remembering that, despite the fact that Su Mucheng was a celebrity figure, her information portfolio had never introduced anything about her family. Chen Guo had always thought that she just didn't want to reveal information about her family. During this year's Spring Festival, Chen Guo knew the reason why Yishu didn't return home. However, when Su Mucheng also stayed at the club, Chen Guo was slightly puzzled in the beginning, but didn't think much of it afterwards. She assumed that Su Mucheng stayed behind to be with Yishu. She only knew about it now that even if Su Mucheng wanted to gather with relatives for a festival, there was no one she could find. As for Chen Guo, although she was living by herself, she still had a few relatives, they just didn't interact much. We both grew up in the orphanage, then something happened, so we were left to wander outside. It was my brother who always cared for me for the whole time, Su Mucheng said. Chen Guo continued to be stunned. She had never thought that such a dazzling glory celebrity had such a miserable past. Her brother Su Mukyu was not even 18 when he passed away, and before that, he already had to bear the responsibility of raising two people. Chen Guo was unable to imagine how hard it must have been. Haha. It was unexpected that Su Mucheng would laugh at a time like this. Don't assume that our lives were hard at that time, because it wasn't. Our lives were pretty good due to my brother's gaming talent. Gaming talent? Yeah, Su Mucheng smiled. Power leveling, selling equipment, organizing gambling dens, or even assassinating. In terms of gaming, there's really nothing he couldn't do. Oh, that's nice. Quote. Although Chen Guo spoke in this manner, she was pained on the inside. She knew that although Su Mucheng had said it like this, the reality might not have been as blissful as she had described. Chen Guo had grown up in the internet cafe. Later, she managed the internet cafe, a relatively big one too. Although she didn't involve herself with online games at first, she had watched over such a place every day, so Chen Guo knew quite clearly about what it was like to seek a living in gaming, similar to what Su Mucheng had described. Although doing these things could help them survive, it would be difficult to let a person live a luxurious life. Chen Guo didn't know to what degree Su Mukyu could do it, but at that time, he was just a teenager and he had needed to support two people's lives, so it must have been very difficult. Also, another reality was before her eyes. Su Mukya's grave was one of those with a low standard in Nanshan Public Cemetery, so it could be seen that when he had passed away, their financial assets had been very limited. Chen Guo didn't think that Su Mucheng had spoken in such way just to comfort her. Maybe she really was satisfied during that time. Her living demands weren't too high as someone who had grown up living on the streets and depended on her brother. This was why she felt very happy even though her life might not have been very good in another person's eyes. Chen Guo received confirmation because she caught Yi Shu's emotions in that instant. When Su Mucheng was happily remembering her past, Yi Shu, who was always calm, had a bit of bitterness displayed on his face. Chen Guo knew that he wasn't some kind of pitiable teenager who didn't have a home to go to. In terms of his quality of life, he definitely wasn't on the same level as a homeless girl. Evidently, Yi Shu was clear about what the Su siblings' lives were like, so when Su Mucheng brought up the happiness from her past, his emotions were similar to Chen Guo's. When the game Glory came out, my brother was so happy. He had high hopes for this game and put all his heart into it, Su Mucheng said. I met those two around that time, Yi Shu said. After you have left home, right? Chen Guo asked. Yeah, Yi Shu nodded. After meeting them, I got along with Mook. Both of us aspired to make something out of Glory, so we spent all our time on Glory every day. We researched classes, skills, equipment, and creating our own equipment in Glory. The Pro League still has silver equipment created by him. Really? Chen Guo was astonished. Really? One Autumn Leaf Spear Evil Annihilation is one of his works, Yi Shu said. As well as the Myriad Manifestations umbrella, Chen Guo suddenly remembered, when she had first learned about this piece of silver equipment, Yi Shu had mentioned a friend. Chen Guo felt it was a sensitive topic, so she hadn't investigated the matter any further. Now it could be seen that the friend Yi Shu had previously mentioned was Su Mukyu. Yeah, very gifted, right? It was a pity that the update for level 55 destroyed any meaning in unspecialized characters and this weapon, Yi Shu sighed. But my brother didn't give up, Su Mucheng spoke. That's right. The Myriad Manifestations umbrella's conception was a vision produced by him when unspecialized characters had been extremely popular. From then on, he researched unceasingly. He experimented and experimented. No one knew how many failures he experienced, but he never gave up. Who knew that, just when he was about to succeed, when he had prepared a character to level up with the Myriad Manifestations umbrella, that update happened. When the news came out, even I couldn't accept such a sorrowful thing. His silence during that time scared all of us. Do you know what happened afterwards? Yi Shu asked. What happened? Chen Guo was startled. The first thing that came to her mind was that Su Mukyu had been too depressed because of this and deliberately got into a car accident. However, after giving it more thoughts and this really happened, how could Yi Shu ask something like, do you know what happened afterwards? On the second day, when we were all still worrying about him, he smiled and handed a card to me, saying, it's a new start, Yi Shu said. He's really strong. Chen Guo instantly gained respect for Su Mukyu from the bottom of her heart. He gave up on the idea of playing an unspecialized. He picked a class and leveled it up again. During that time, the news of a professional league forming was gradually released. We were famous in Glory at that time, so we were contacted and invited everywhere. Of course, we weren't able to bring out our unspecialized characters, but we could finally take a step ahead in Glory. Everyone was happy, only that. Yi Shu fell dim when he spoke here and lowered his head towards the gravestone. In the picture that was mounted on the gravestone, was a delicate teenager, who looked kind of like Su Mucheng, giving off a confident and easy smile. At that moment, Chen Guo felt as if she could really hear a free and easy voice saying, it's a new start. Yeah, only a person with absolute confidence would be able to casually say such a thing after experiencing an attack that destroyed all of his hard work. And he had only been a youth in his teens. At that time, we had already confirmed our team and were prepared to formally sign the contract, but he was caught up in an accident, Yi Shu sighed. The three fell silent. Su Mucheng slightly turned her head, but quickly turned it back to its original position. Although the tears in her eyes were shining, there was still a strong smile hanging on her face, but he left behind many things. That's right, without the silver weapon, evil annihilation for one autumn leaf, I wouldn't have been able to win 3 championships in a row so easily. Haha, at that time, that silver weapon was ahead of its time. You can even ask Old Wei when you return. It scared him to death, Yi Shu said. There's also Lord Grimm and the myriad manifestations umbrella. What he wasn't able to achieve before can be achieved now, Chen Guo spoke. As well as the account he prepared to use for the Pro League, Su Mucheng added. Oh, where? Chen Guo truly wanted to worship the character that this firm and confident youth had left behind. This youth would have become a god, but ended up with such a tragic ending instead. It's the Dancing Rain account that I'm currently using, Su Mucheng said. Chapter 617. Let's work hard together everyone. Chen Guo was very surprised at this response. Su Mucheng's Dancing Rain had been the account that Su Mukyu had originally intended to use in the Pro Alliance? Guys playing female characters or girls playing male characters weren't commonly seen in the game, but it wasn't anything strange in the pro scene. Every character in the pro scene had been built up step by step. The character's gender was something that had been set at creation and couldn't be changed regardless. In some cases, a younger generation successor would be a male player playing a female character, or a female player playing a male character. Team Misty Rain's Chu Youngshu and Team Void's Wu Yus were 2 notable examples. Both of them were all-star level players. Chu Youngshu's Elementalist, Windy Rain, and Wu Yux's Ghostblade, Carved Ghost, were the opposite gender of their respective players. Windy Rain was a male character. Carved Ghost didn't sound like a female name, but she was a female character anyways. These 2 were famous, so they were talked about more often than others. There were also others, but there weren't very many. After all, there were more male players than female players. Male players were, on average, more skilled than the female players. In the pro scene, whether it was players or characters, males held the majority. Nearly all of the above players had inherited their current accounts. In the beginning, this issue would often be talked about by others, but later, everyone got used to it, so not many were surprised by it anymore. However, if someone took the initiative to play as the opposite gender, it would attract a lot of attention. In the past few years, there were no lack of players who wanted to attract attention in this way. Unfortunately, this was a competitive place and not a place for recreation. Just relying on this method wouldn't allow them to keep their position. Everything depended on their skill alone. If your skills were just for show, then you would be picked out swiftly. Let alone players who played a different gender, even if you were an actual transgendered person, you would just be seen as a joke if you couldn't back up the attention with skill. But this Su Mukyu had actually planned on joining the pro scene by using a female account. It was quite surprising to Chen Guo. Someone with such confidence didn't need to gather attention in this way. After she said, Su Mucheng explained to her with a smile, he didn't care whether or not he played a male or female character. The reason he created that account was to tease me. Oh, Chen Guo understood. It was just a little joke between brother and sister. It had nothing to do with the politics of the pro scene. He had even used his sister's name for the female character. Chen Guo could tell that Su Mukyu loved his sister dearly. Such a caring person ended up in such a way. Chen Guo felt sad, but she didn't want to disturb Yi Shu's and Su Mucheng's feelings, so she tried hard not to cry. Now she understood why, that day, when excellent Era's boss Dao Zan came over and promised he could even let one autumn leaf go if Yi Shu desired, but Yi Shu decisively asked for Dancing Rain instead. In his eyes, Dancing Rain meant much more to him than even one autumn leaf. Whether it was for Su Mukyu or Su Mucheng, he would try his hardest to get Dancing Rain back. As for one autumn leaf, it was mostly Yi Shu's memories. He could give the up, or maybe it was because he was confident like Su Mukyu that he could start all over from scratch. Afterwards, the 3 fell into silence. No one said anything. After standing there reminiscing for a short while, Yi Shu spoke, "Let's go back." Okay, Chen Guo did an object. Su Mucheng also nodded. The 3 left. Before leaving, Chen Guo couldn't help but look back one last time. With Su Mukyu's skill, personality, and even appearance, if he had been able to join the pro scene, what would he have been able to accomplish? Had he been planning on joining Excellent Era together with you? Chen Guo asked Yi Shu. Yeah, Yi Shu nodded his head. If you had been able to fight alongside each other in Excellent Era, Chen Guo couldn't help but imagine the possibilities. Just Yi Shu alone had been able to bring Excellent Era to dominate the pro scene for 3 years. If he had someone else, who was no worse than himself, someone like Su Mukyu, then maybe the Pro Alliance would close down because the same team would win the championships every year without any competition, Yi Shu said. Alright, today was a special day, so Chen Guo didn't make any remarks towards Yi Shu's comment. The three walked along the road down the mountain and returned by taxi. All the way, they talked about the game and their moods gradually returned to normal, but Chen Guo had just listened to the story for the first time. Her mood couldn't go back to normal so quickly. At this moment, her ambitions became even grander. She suddenly felt that bearing so much weight on her shoulders was something to be happy about. She was glad that she had the opportunity to meet all these people and share their burden. Struggle and move forward. Whether they succeeded or failed, they could be proud of their life. Their life wouldn't be filled with boredom or loneliness. How are things going? How are things going? Is everything done yet? When they returned to the internet cafe, Su Mucheng went back to Club Excellent Era, while Chen Guo checked with the second-floor renovators on their current progress. Her energy startled Wei Chen and Steamed Bun, who were playing the game in the room. The two came out to see what was going on. Wei Chen still had a cigarette in his mouth, which Chen Guo quickly noticed. No smoking, Chen Guo pointed out. Are you joking? You can't smoke in this internet cafe? Wei Chen was astonished. Chen Guo recalled that exact same scene 4 months ago. Yi Shu had arrived at the internet cafe with a cigarette in his mouth. After being scolded by her, he also had that same incomprehensible look. If you're going to smoke, go smoke in that room, Chen Guo pointed. Prohibiting smoking in an internet cafe would make things difficult for customers and would negatively impact the business, so even though Chen Guo didn't like smoking, she had to open up a smoking area for these customers. There were certain areas downstairs and upstairs for customers to freely smoke in. How did you survive? Wei Chen looked at Yi Shu. He clearly knew that Yi Shu also smoked. I've got morals. I only smoke in smoking areas, Yi Shu said. Don't tell me the clubs allowed you to smoke in the practice rooms? Chen Guo asked incredulously. Usually not, Wei Chen said, but I was the captain. After speaking, he sucked in a deep breath and handed a cigarette over to Yi Shu. Yi Shu took it and skillfully lit it. After taking in a deep breath, he puffed out, I was also the captain. Scum. Both of you are scum, Chen Guo was furious. At this moment, she couldn't help but think of Su Mukyu. If he had been the captain, he definitely wouldn't have acted so inappropriately. Even if you don't care about yourself, you have to at least care about the other team members. A lot of our team members are minors. Don't you feel bad exposing them to secondhand smoke? Chen Guo lectured. This senior had already started smoking when he was a minor, Wei Chen inhaled. What a coincidence. Me too, Yi Shu nodded his head and also inhaled. You too, Chen Guo yelled. Speaking of which, who's going to be our team captain? Wei Chen asked Yi Shu. Are you going senile? If not me, then who else? Yi Shu said. I guess we have to make do with what we got, Wei Chen nodded his head. These two guys chatted and went into the room. Steamed Bun, do you smoke? Wei Chen even asked Steamed Bun. I don't know how, Steamed Bun said. There are youths who actually don't know how to smoke, Wei Chen expressed his disdain. Then let me try, Steamed Bun asked. Chen Guo was going crazy. Wasn't he being brought over to the dark side too easily? Just when she was about to stop their vile behavior, Yi Shu said, if he doesn't know, there's no point letting him try. It'd be a waste. Agreed, Wei Chen nodded his head. After speaking, the two went into the room. Chen Guo was depressed. Just Yi Shu alone had made her go mad, but now Wei Chen was here too. With these two shameless villains colluding with one another, they directly ignored her no-smoking policy. Chen Guo once again thought of Su Mukyu and felt grieved. Why did such a good person have to die? Was it really as the saying went, good people don't live for long, while disasters can last centuries? She couldn't do anything about these two. Chen Guo went back and checked on the renovation progress. She was quite satisfied with the progress, but when she thought about those two scourges, she had to propose another requirement. The practice room would need very strong ventilation. "You're back." At this moment, Tang Ru came out from her room and called out to Chen Guo. "HMPH. Those two make me angry," Chen Guo grumbled. "What's wrong?" Tang Ru asked. Chen Guo explained. Tang Ru consoled her with a smile. "There's nothing we can do. From the looks of it, that old Wei's smoking addiction is even worse than Yi Shu's. If you didn't let him smoke while he played, he might not be able to handle it." I know. A lot of old players are like that," Chen Guo said. "Just let them do what they're used to doing," Tang Ru said. "What else can I do? I can only lecture them a bit," Chen Guo sighed. "Yi Shu wasn't here in the morning. Did he go out with you?" Tang Ru asked. "Yeah. He and Su Mucheng went to sweep a gravestone." Chen Guo pulled Tang Ru to one side and told her about Su Mucheng's brother, Su Mukyu. She wasn't afraid that she would disturb Yi Shu's or Su Mucheng's mood. Chen Guo completely poured out her thoughts. Tang Ru listened and could only feel sorry as well. "This has made me even more determined to work hard for this team," Chen Guo said. "Let's work hard together," Tang Ru said. Chapter 618. Practice Room. The second floor renovation wasn't a very large project, but it wasn't a small project either. However, with Chen Guo personally supervised the project in high spirits, the work progressed swiftly. About 2 weeks later, the project was complete. They then moved in some equipment that had been prepared beforehand. Chen Guo inspected everything again and felt very satisfied with the work. Only then did she call everyone over and officially move them into the team's new practice room. "Isn't it too bright?" Yi Shu led the way in and made a remark. Sunshine came in through the huge window and into his eyes, forcing him to squint. "It really is a bit bright," Wei Chen followed after him. Chen Guo ignored the comments given by these two shameless guys. She just continued to invite them to use the computers and experience the room some more. The computers used weren't any different from the ones used in the internet cafe. Glory ran smoothly on these computers without any problems. As for their mice and keyboards, she had asked them which ones they preferred. Yi Shu had recommended a suitable set for Steam Bun. There were 12 computer stations total, every 3 computers were in a group. The groups were arranged in a square formation, giving off a very competitive atmosphere. Because they used different sets of keyboards and mice, their seats were already fixed. Yi Shu and Wei Chen were placed right underneath the strong ventilation fan. Chen Guo already regarded them as smoke machines. The 4 people sat down in their respective seats, turned on their computers, and entered the game. Not long afterwards, Yi Shu wrinkled his brows as he complained again, "It's too bright." "Yeah," Wei Chen agreed. Chen Guo was just about to ignore their complaints again, but Steam Bun also squinted his eyes and leaned extremely far forward. His eyes were about to touch the screen. "It's too bright. I can't see the screen clearly." Even Tang Ru said helplessly, "It really is." Chen Guo had never tried it before. She stood behind Tang Ru to check and suddenly felt stupid. She had intentionally positioned the room so that it faced the sun. The sunlight would brighten up the atmosphere, but it also brought an intense glare to the computer monitors. It really was hard to see stuff on the screen. "We should hang a curtain." Yi Shu looked at the window. Chen Guo accepted the suggestion and hung a curtain up over the window. They immediately spread it out. "Good." Steamed Bun was excited when he returned to his computer. This is good," Wei Chen complimented. Yi Shu and Tang Ru didn't say anything, but also looked very satisfied. Chen Guo was speechless. The curtain blocked the sunlight, making the room very dark. The brightly lit and magnificent practice room that she had imagined had turned into a dark and gloomy room. In this dusky room, the constantly changing light from the screens shone on the faces of the people in front of the computers. Even a beautiful girl like Tang Ru now looked like she was a ghost. Chen Guo couldn't bear it anymore. She walked to the entrance and turned on the light. "Ah!" Everyone in the room cried out as if a bunch of leeches had been burned by the sun. "Turn it off. Hurry up and turn it off." Wei Chen's voice was especially impatient and desperate. As he shouted, he kept on adjusting his seat and waving his keyboard and mouse. The light seemed as if it had an extremely dangerous effect on him. The other 3 didn't react as crazily. All of them kept looking up at the lights. Chen Guo had personally chosen the lights as well. The lights were very beautiful crystal lamps, but right now, the others were glaring at them very unwelcomingly. Chen Guo was gloomy. Don't turn them all on. It makes it too hard to see the screen, Yi Shu said. Chen Guo flipped 2 of the light switches off. A couple more, Yi Shu said. Chen Guo turned off more lights. Another one, Yi Shu said again. Chen Guo turned off a couple more lights. Another one, Yi Shu still said. Chen Guo turned off another light and then heard Yi Shu say in satisfaction, this is perfect. Let's keep it like this. All of the lights had been turned off. Chen Guo was so depressed that she wanted to hit a wall. It turns out that she had done too many unnecessary things. The practice room had a few other features too, but right now, Chen Guo felt too afraid to display them to everyone. After the 4 felt satisfied with their environment, they had already begun focusing on the game. Chen Guo was feeling down, when she suddenly heard Yi Shu say, "Is this all? I remember you installed a projector too?" Yeah, Chen Guo heard his question and her spirits came back. She hastily ran to the corner on the east side and pressed on a button. The projector screen slowly descended. The screen was a bit smaller than the screen downstairs used to project the matches on Saturday, but it was more than enough for this practice room. Hey, this is real nice. We can use this projector to watch matches. We won't need to go downstairs and squeeze our way through the crowd. Hearing all those noobs talking rubbish really makes me mad, Wei Chen felt moved. Everyone laughed. In the beginning, Wei Chen had liked the way Happy Internet Cafe broadcast the Saturday matches. During his first week here, he had a good time with everyone else. But good things didn't last forever. In the second week, after Wei Chen got a good seat to watch the match, he got into a big argument with the person next to him. That person was commenting on the match to his friend and acted like he knew everything. Wei Chen listened to him and saw that it was all complete nonsense. As a result, he passionately participated in the discussion and pointed out all of his mistakes. That guy didn't have the patience to listen to any of Wei Chen's words. He looked at Wei Chen in contempt, you understand? Wei Chen wasn't a typical gaming nerd. He had come from the streets. After being in the streets for so long, he had gone from being a small delinquent to a big boss. His temperament was the same as it had been back then. He was too lazy to reason with this guy. When right, others might play as the scholar who can never win an argument with a military man, but Wei Chen was the military man and would straight up use force to win. But in this occasion, Wei Chen didn't make a move. According to him, because he had just gotten to the internet cafe, he had to give the boss face. In addition, since they were going to form their team, he had to control himself. Later, Yi Shu heard the story and looked down on him. Don't listen to his nonsense. He's just saying that because the other side had the numbers advantage. In short, from then on, Wei Chen no longer watched the matches with the crowd, but he really did like the feeling of using that big projection screen to watch matches. Chen Guo had installed one for them up here, making Wei Chen very happy. Let's watch the matches here this week, Wei Chen declared. I still like downstairs, Steamed Bun said. Why is that? Wei Chen asked. More people, bigger screen, Steamed Bun excitedly said. His simple reasoning was hard to dispute. Facing his own teammate, no matter how angry Wei Chen was, he couldn't just go up and punch him. So he sincerely educated Steamed Bun. Look, we're extremely skilled players aspiring to be pros. It isn't right to crowd together with those noobs. They won't understand the words that you say, but the words that they say will only make you angry. What's the point? That won't happen. I feel like it's good, Steamed Bun said. Everyone laughed again. Wei Chen was helpless. He had been with him for 2 weeks already. How could he not know about Steamed Bun's ability to derail any topic at this point, so he didn't try to put in pointless effort. He buried his head in the game once more. These past 2 weeks everyone else had been leveling on their own accounts. Wei Chen continued to spy on Samsara. With his skill, Wei Chen still wasn't a core member of Samsara yet, but he was at least an elite player of the guild and had joined the elites of Samsara's main guild. During these 2 weeks, he had participated in several wild boss fights and made heroic contributions to the guild. Even if he was a spy, the guild was happy to use him. After all, the benefits brought about by such an expert could clearly be seen. Wei Chen earned their trust, while slowly moving his gang of brothers into the guild. Wei Chen had been guiding his friends for a long time, so their skills weren't bad. They at least had the qualifications to hold a seat in any of the big guilds. They had originally been members of Blue Brook Guild, so they didn't have any issues in joining. Normal players might not care if he recommended a bunch of players to join the guild. The guild leader might even happily welcome all of them, but a club guild had to be much more careful. After all, the competition between the club guilds was too fierce. It was no longer as simple as playing for fun. As a result, under Wei Chen's arrangements, his friends pretended like they were Samsara fans and sent their applications to Samsara. There were countless Samsara fans, and many of these fans wanted to join the club guilds that they supported. No one would ever have any suspicions towards this reason. Afterwards, they just needed to patiently wait for the guild to recruit them. Wei Chen didn't have any proper business to do when he went online. After walking around in a circle, he received a personal message from the guild leader 3 Realms 6 Paths. The guild leader of a grand club guild was someone very high up in the game. To personally receive a message from the guild leader showed how high of a status Wei Chen held. Wei Chen opened up the message, and after conversing with 3 Realms 6 Paths for a bit, he cursed, F***ck. What's wrong? Yi Shu glanced over. That F***cker already wants this senior to lead a team. I still haven't gotten everyone together yet, Wei Chen cursed. This had originally been his and Yi Shu's original plan. Wei Chen displayed his talents as a leader. In order to properly utilize his talents, the guild would give him a team to lead. Wei Chen was currently in an elite team of Samsara, but such a top team would certainly be commanded by the guild leader, 3 Realms 6 Paths. No matter how amazing his leading was, it wasn't his place to go beyond his status. Leading was a very prestigious matter. If your guild's elite team and even the guild leader were listening to a single person's orders, what did that mean? It clearly wouldn't be appropriate, so the two of them were certain that Samsara would give Wei Chen a team to shine. However, they didn't anticipate that Samsara would move so quickly. Only a few of Wei Chen's friends had joined the guild. Chapter 619. Do you have a clear conscience? That's not that important, is it? Yi Shu said as he skimmed through the chat window on Wei Chen's screen. 3 Realms 6 Paths seemed to place a lot of importance on Wei Chen and told him that he was planning on giving him control over the 5th elite group of Samsara's main guild to lead. It's not that important, but I just feel that with the ability I've displayed, it's still too soon for me to become an elite group's leader, Wei Chen said. Really? The 5th elite group? One group has 100 players. When a guild fights for a wild boss, the guild will usually brings 2 groups, at most 3 or 4. Your 5th elite group is just a reserve group for the reserve group. Your current status isn't any higher than a cheerleader in the 1st elite group. At the very least, you won't be able to receive any extremely important pieces of intelligence. Right now, just take your 5th elite group or whatever and run dungeons all day, Yi Shu said. Shut up. If that guild leader immediately handed me the 1st elite group, his head must have been kicked into mush by a donkey. The 5th elite group isn't that bad anyways. Wait until I show off a bit more skill and we'll push past those 2nd, 3rd, 4th elite groups, Wei Chen said with confidence. Don't stoop too low. If you get a rare item in the next dungeon, try to restrain yourself from pocketing it for yourself. That would be like killing the hen for the eggs, Yi Shu warned. F***ck off. Do you think this senior needs your advice? Wei Chen shooed away Yi Shu as if he were a fly. Just when Yi Shu turned back to his computer screen, he heard Wei Chen yell, "Whoa! Eternal Life Spring. I just happen to need something from this dungeon. This group's dungeon progress is perfect." Yi Shu turned his head and looked. After Wei Chen had accepted 3 Realms 6 Paths' proposal, 3 Realms 6 Paths asked for him to lead his new team to tackle dungeons. Their main target was a level 70 dungeon, Eternal Life Springs. Even though Yi Shu regarded the 5th elite group of Samsara's main guild as the reserve group of the reserve group, in reality, they were definitely among the top teams in glory. Eternal Life Springs was one of the 7 great 100-player dungeons in the heavenly domain. These 7 great 100-player raid dungeons were named as such because they were currently the hardest dungeons that existed in glory. They belonged in the same category of difficulty, but because there were a lot of differences between each dungeon, different raid groups had easier times in some dungeons but had a harder time in others. As a result, it was hard to say which of these 7 dungeons was the easiest. Every raid group had their own opinions. These 7 dungeons had been added to Glory at the same time and refreshed at the same time every week. In other words, even though there were 7 dungeons, players could only choose one of the 7 to run every week. Large guilds, like Samsara, would always try to split their forces up so they could run all 7 dungeons during the week. How many of the 7 dungeons a guild could clear was another way they could measure the guild's strength. If a raid group could only attempt 1 dungeon every week, how many dungeons a guild could clear indicated how many top elite teams that guild possessed. The more of these top elite teams they had, the more experts the guild had, and the better the equipment these experts possessed. Samsara's 5th elite group was one of the groups responsible for running one of the 7 great dungeons every week. Since these dungeons refreshed on the same day each week, the equipment and uncommon materials inside were extraordinarily precious. Although, in theory, the drops wouldn't be at the same level as a wild boss's, but not only did a group only have a single opportunity to attempt one of the 7 dungeons, but very few of them could actually clear them. As for random raid groups, they were far from being good enough to take down any of the 7 dungeons. Wei Chen used to be a part of the Blue Brook Guild before. With his skill, entering an elite group definitely wouldn't be a difficult task. He had probably run this dungeon before. Even if he had run the dungeon in the past, most players wouldn't be able to get any of the items that dropped. If it were any normal player guild or another group, it might be possible, but for club guilds, materials needed to be provided for the pro team. Unless there was a special reason, these materials rarely fell into a player's hands, so when Wei Chen saw that he would be leading the team into Eternal Life Springs, he immediately thought of killing the hen to get the eggs. He was the group leader. According to custom, equipment and materials dropped wouldn't be rolled for to determine the owner. The drops would go directly to the group leader. If Wei Chen needed an item, he could take it directly and leave if he wanted to. However, if he did this, he would never be trusted by anymore again. Don't stoop too low, Yi Shu reminded again. I just felt that it was a bit of pity. Do you think that I'm you? Wei Chen looked back with contempt. Yi Shu didn't reply, but after a while, he suddenly heard Wei Chen slap his head in vexation. Why didn't I think of that before? Think of what? Yi Shu asked. Getting materials this way. I should have created a smurf, climbed to the top, lead a team, then took the items and ran, Wei Chen said. This means that you're still human, Yi Shu sighed. But you thought of it today, Wei Chen glanced at him. Must be a difference in IQ, Yi Shu asked. More like a difference in morals, Wei Chen said. Everything is for work, Yi Shu expressed. How about we get a few alternates and use this method? It's a pity about your unrivaled super hottie. You should have at least risen to the level of a group leader, run a dungeon, and take all the items before leaving, Wei Chen said. You're joking. Do you know how much effort that requires? Wouldn't it be better to directly target the group leaders? Wait for them to exit the dungeons and directly kill them. Isn't that much more direct and efficient? Yi Shu said. Hadn't we planned on doing this before? When we have a bit more manpower, we'll do it, Wei Chen said. That's why I said we're not in a hurry for dungeon drops. It would make more sense to hurry up and figure out a way to steal wild bosses, Yi Shu said. Slow down, slow down. As long as you remain patient, there will be more bread waiting for you, Wei Chen advised. Chen Guo listened to their discussion and felt very remorseful. The content of their discussion becoming more and more despicable. They wouldn't stop at anything to reach their goals, whether it be murdering or plundering. If a pure and innocent child ended up joining their team, under the evil influence of these two people, what would he be like when he grew up? It would be okay if the child could distinguish between game and reality, but if he was completely corrupted, what would happen if he went to the streets and plundered? Most players thought of running dungeons to get equipment drops or finding ways to trade for other items. Why did these two have to think of inhumane methods like they clear the dungeon, while we clear the group leader? How did these guys view the game? What did they eat when they grew up? Chen Guo looked at the two incredulously. When she glanced at Steamed Bun and Tang Ru, they were wearing the headphones and leveling in dungeons. They probably didn't hear of them talking, so they didn't react in any way. If a team was formed like this, their entire history would be filled with black. If their wrongdoings were exposed, how terrible would their reputation be? Chen Guo thought. She felt like their plans were too excessive. But when she thought about it again, killing people for equipment was very common in the heavenly domain. Who didn't know that the heavenly domain was a dangerous place? These two were just a bit more bold than others. Most players would think of bullying strays, whose equipment were about to break anyways. But these two guys directly locked onto the group leaders of the top guild's elite groups. In any case, this was a game and it wasn't against the law. Even so, Chen Guo didn't like this sort of conduct. But if she tried to talk some sense into these two, she felt like her chances were very low. In that instant, Chen Guo once again thought of Su Mukyu. This youth died before he could complete his dreams. Chen Guo had only understood a little bit about his situation from Yi Shu and Su Mucheng on the Qingming festival, but in her heart, she regarded him as a perfect existence. He was a big reason for Chen Guo's recent motivation. When she thought of this perfect person, Chen Guo became determined. She walked over to those two unscrupulous guys and tapped the table. Hey! What? The two didn't even lift their heads. You guys weren't actually serious about those things you guys just talked about, right? Chen Guo said. What? The two finally lifted their heads. Directly killing the group leader for his stuff, Chen Guo said in an incomparably serious tone. Did we say that? Yi Shu looked at Wei Chen. I don't think so. Wei Chen looked at Chen Guo. I'm serious. Chen Guo didn't waver. Yi Shu could feel Chen Guo's determination and laughed. Of course not. We were just joking. Really? Chen Guo hesitated, but still told them her thoughts. I understand your dreams and how precious time is and how difficult it is right now, but I feel that we shouldn't achieve these goals through any means possible, such as relying on immoral methods like stealing the results that others got through hard work. Do you guys not have a clear conscience? Wei Chen furrowed his brows when he heard her words. Right when he was about to say something in response, Yi Shu smiled. We have a clear conscience. Yi Shu had his usual indifferent expression, but it currently made Chen Guo feel disappointed. Fortunately, she soon heard Yi Shu add, because we really were just joking. Really? That's good. Chen Guo suddenly felt a heavy weight come off of her shoulder and smiled. Wei Chen didn't say anything until Chen Guo left. Then, he looked at Yi Shu, but we weren't actually joking, right? I was just joking. You were the one being too immoral, Yi Shu said. Stop with the bullshit. I doubt you'd care about something like that, Wei Chen said. But there's nothing we can do, Yi Shu said. Why? Wei Chen said. Because she's the boss, Yi Shu smiled. F***ck, females are always so sensitive. Wei Chen rubbed his nose fiercely and returned to the game without saying anything more. Chapter 620. Excellent era relegated. April soon came to an end. In April, the Pro Alliance held a total of 5 matches. There were only 2 matches remaining now. The positions of many teams on the rankings list were already determined. The first place spot in the regular season looked as if it would be taken by Team Blue Rain. For all 5 matches in April, Team Blue Rain had performed consistently well and were currently 5 points ahead of the second place team, Samsara. Their opponents in the next 2 matches had no hope of making it to the playoffs and wouldn't get relegated either way. These types of opponents wouldn't try very hard for these upcoming matches. Under this type of situation, allowing Samsara to close the 5-point gap wasn't Team Blue Rain's style, so nearly everyone agreed that Team Blue Rain would take first during the regular season. As for second, third, and fourth places, after the 5 matches in April, there were only slight differences in points, but their rankings stayed the same: Samsara, Tiny Herb, and Tyranny. After them, Team Misty Rain was locked into 5th place and Team Void was locked into 6th. Their spots in the playoffs were also firmly set. In 7th place was Team 301. They could still lose their playoff spot, but the probability of that happening was extremely low. In other words, it would be a miracle if they managed to lose their spot. Miracles didn't happen often, so everyone also treated their playoff spot as fixed. Team Wind Howl and Team Thunderclap were fighting for the final ticket to the playoffs. Their former competitor, Team Royal Style, had no possibility of making it through anymore. As for Team 100 Blossoms, they were in a similar situation as Team 301. The only difference was that instead of the possibility of losing their playoff spot, they could be relegated in theory. As a result, for the next two matches, fans of Team Wind Howl and Team Thunderclap were the most worried, but no matter what, one of these two teams would not make it to the playoffs. This was the cruel nature of competition. In comparison to the fight for the playoff spot, the relegation spots weren't watched as much. There were a total of 38 matches in a season and 380 points possible. To be last or second to last among the 20 teams indicated that the two relegated teams were truly terrible teams. It didn't mean that these two teams wouldn't have any fans, but they usually didn't have as many fans as other teams, so the attention given to them was naturally less than the other teams. But this year was an exception. Team Excellent Era had once reigned over the professional scene, but this season, they looked as if they were determined to get relegated. Whether it was experts, fans, or the media, no one thought that Team Excellent Era would ever get relegated. However, Team Excellent Era seemed to like to create miracles and was about to turn this dream into a reality. Unfortunately, this was a miracle for haters and a disaster for fans. As for the 20th place team, Mysterious Fantasy, it didn't matter what they did in the last two matches. They would be relegated regardless, but for this team, which had been last place the entire season, no one cared about whether they survived or died. Excellent Era, on the other hand, had continued to drop to second to last place and raised much criticism from everyone. However, because Excellent Era could still place outside of relegations, quite a few analyzed their past results. Even though many fans saw that Excellent Era seemed to be determined to get relegated, in reality, they were just barely outside the relegation zone most of the time. It was only their second time breaking through the door to relegations. When did the first time happen? The fans of Excellent Era quickly remembered. At that time, it was still winter. Their captain for 7 years, Yi Chu, had announced his retirement. The exceptional talent, Sun Xiang, who had already been regarded as a god, joined Excellent Era and inherited the legendary battle god, One Autumn Leaf. At that time, some were disappointed. Some were hopeful. Some hoped for a miracle. And now a miracle had truly occurred. Except this wasn't the miracle that they had expected. Even when Excellent Era had fallen to second to last place for the first time that winter and the feelings of the fans were ice cold like the weather, none of them would have ever imagined something like this could happen, but now, they were second to last place and the 18th place team, Bright Green, was 5 points ahead of them. What a coincidence. This was the same point difference between Samsara and Blue Rain, but because of Team Blue Rain's consistency, everyone thought that Blue Rain would definitely come in first, but in this case, everyone thought that the situation was exactly the same because Excellent Era was also very consistent. The only difference was that Blue Rain was consistently good, while Excellent Era was consistently bad. These two teams used to be regarded as powerhouses, but now their definitions of consistency were the opposite of each other. Fortunately, Blue Rain didn't have any enmity towards Excellent Era. If Blue Rain had been Excellent Era's long-time rival, Tyranny, such a definite comparison would have gotten Excellent Era even more ridicule. Even so, Excellent Era received a lot of mockery. After all, a tall tree attracts the wind. Many people hoped to see them fail. It was just that they could only fantasize Excellent Era getting relegated. Who would have thought that it would actually become reality? It truly was a miracle. Countless people were dying from laughter right now. The fans of Excellent Era were unexpectedly calm though. Apart from growing numb to Excellent Era's disastrous performances, the work done by Excellent Era's PR department was starting to take effect. In one of their statements, they stated that this season was incredibly disappointing and that the team was in an unprecedented crisis. They also expressed that the club had been working their hardest, but the problem could not be resolved. In their statement, they even mentioned contacting the retired captain Yi Chu, hoping that Yi Chu would act as an advisor and help them find their problem. Unfortunately, Yi Chu declined. This was without a doubt a method of shifting everyone's attention to somewhere else. They expressed that they had been working hard the entire time, while also tactfully explaining one of the reasons that they had been unable to resolve the problem. When the statement came out, Chen Guo slammed the table in anger, but many fans believed their words and started to criticize Yi Chu. Yi Chu himself heard the statement, but simply replied, "It's the truth." It's true, but how can they spin it like that? It's like they're blaming you for their problems, Chen Guo continued to vent. At this moment, Wei Chen looked strangely at Chen Guo. Are you saying it's not his fault? If he didn't wipe out their team in game, no matter how terrible Excellent Era performed, they wouldn't be in such a messed up jumble that they might even end up getting relegated. They reap what they sow, Chen Guo refuted. Women. Weak, kind-hearted, and they don't listen to reason. It's an inborn trait, Wei Chen sighed. Let's stop arguing, Yi Shu hastily urged them to stop. Excellent era getting relegated is my fault, Yi Shu expressed with sorrow. He didn't wait for Chen Guo to refute and immediately continued, but how would I have known that wiping them out in game would turn out like this? No one would have imagined that such actions would have so severe a consequence. But you can't deny their current record either. They're still young. They still have chances. They shouldn't give up so easily. I don't know what they plan on doing in the future. Too much has been happening recently. I want to be by myself for a bit. If you don't need me for anything, I'll be leaving. Yi Shu took out a cigarette after speaking. Wei Chen and Chen Guo looked at one another. After a while, Chen Guo turned to Wei Chen and asked, why does that sound so familiar? In the end, Excellent Era was relegated. On May 13, Glory's 8th regular season came to an end. Blue Rain, Samsara, Tiny Herb, Tyranny, Misty Rain, Void, 301, and Thunderclap entered the playoffs. The other teams were on break for the next week. Excellent Era and Mysterious Fantasy were relegated. In the Alliance's history, relegations almost always meant the disappearance of a team. Except this time, a formerly glorious team like Excellent Era had been relegated, bringing about numerous discussions. Some began to hold a memorial service for the end of an era, while others were confident that Excellent Era would rise again. At the end, Club Excellent Era expressed clearly that this season had been a disaster, but it didn't spell their end. Soon afterwards, they said a string of placating words to their fans. Their team's ace player, Sun Shang, wouldn't be leaving the team because of this disaster. Not many trusted their words though until Sun Shang personally said so in an interview that he would get through these troubling days together with Excellent Era. At the same time, he spoke of how much care he had received from the club ever since he had joined the club, proving that, even though he had only been with Excellent Era for half a year, their relationship wasn't limited by time. He definitely wouldn't waver because they had been relegated. In next season's Challenger League, I'll let Excellent Era back onto the pro stage, Sun Shang confidently said to the interviewer. This concluded the interview, making Chen Guo want to puke. Sun Shang obviously wasn't the only person the interviewer wanted to interview. Excellent Era's other extremely popular player, the all-star, Su Mucheng. There was also the vice-captain Lu Hao, who had performed quite well throughout the season. There were also the main and substitute players. The interviewer wanted to interview as many people in Excellent Era as possible. But unfortunately, whether it was because these people didn't want to be interviewed or if the club told them not to, they all refused every interviews. This caused the keen media people to think that Excellent Era wasn't as calm as they pretended to be. Under this calm cover, what were they going to do next? But right now wasn't a good time to dig up this information. After a 2-week break, it would be the season playoffs. The competition to see who would be the champions of this season would begin. No matter the situation, these 8 teams would undoubtedly be the highlight of